He insulted her so loudly that even the music stopped, yet she didn't shed a single tear. And that scared him more than anything. The hall glittered with gold lights, laughter, and people dressed like royalty. It was Daniel Carter and his wife, Leah's 10th anniversary gala. But instead of a loving speech, Daniel took the microphone and tore her heart apart. He pointed at her in front of everyone and said, "This woman is the biggest mistake I ever made. Always failing, always disappointing." The hall went silent. Guests stared at their plates. Daniel's friends laughed. His mother smiled proudly. Then Daniel walked down the stage, stood before Leah, and spat on her shoes. Leah stood still in her emerald gown, her heart breaking quietly. But her eyes were calm. Daniel thought she was shattered. But Leah was thinking of something else, something she had prepared for months. Everyone believed Leah was the quiet wife with the dead clothing business, the woman who lost money, the nobody, but none of them knew where she disappeared to every dawn. None knew who she had become. Not even Daniel knew he was about to walk under her without realizing it. Tonight was the final straw. Tonight, Leah stopped being silent. Her alarm didn't wake her. Her fear did. Something inside her whispered, "Move fast." Leah woke before dawn, heart racing. She sat up quickly, staring at the quiet room. Daniel was still asleep, snoring lightly. She tiptoed to her small desk and opened the one notebook she hid under loose floorboards. Inside were pages of dress sketches, fabric samples, business plans, and research everything she kept hidden for 2 years. She traced her fingers over the words L. Monroe Designs, the company she rebuilt secretly under her maiden name. At 14, Leah learned to sew from her grandmother, a fashion seamstress. Her grandmother once said, "Your hands hold your future. Don't let anyone clip them." Leah remembered those words every time Daniel mocked her. When her first boutique failed because a supplier scammed her, Daniel didn't comfort her. He had stood above her crying form and said, "You embarrass me. Stop chasing small girl dreams." That day, Leah shut down her business. She also shut down a part of her soul, but not forever. A quiet vibration on her phone pulled her back to the present. A message from her secret investor mentor. "All clear. Papers ready. CEO Monroe is officially recognized." Her breath caught. She was ready. She smelled trouble before she saw them. Daniel's mother never visited without bringing poison in her voice. The front door burst open. Mrs. Carter marched into the house like she owned it. Behind her, Daniel's sister Mia followed with a smirk. "Leah," Mrs. Carter barked, "this house smells like cheap fabric again. Are you still sewing nonsense?" Mia snickered. She loves pretending she's a designer. Cute. Leah kept her face calm, but her hands tightened around the measuring tape she'd forgotten on the table. Daniel entered seconds later, acting surprised. But Leah saw the satisfaction in his eyes. He had invited them early on purpose. He enjoyed watching them belittle her. Mrs. Carter dropped her handbag and said loudly, "Daniel told us your business failed again. Honestly, Leah, know when to quit." Leah swallowed the stink. She wanted to defend herself, but she needed her quiet strength for something much bigger. As she hung up their coats, she heard Daniel laughing on the phone in the hallway, voice soft and sweet, far too sweet. "Relax, babe," he whispered. "She'll never know. She's too busy pretending she's talented." A woman giggled through the speaker. Something inside Leah shifted. Not fear, not confusion. Something colder. This was the beginning of her rise. She found the truth hidden between laundry and it smelled like another woman. Leah entered the laundry room to breathe, but when she opened the basket, something shiny fell out. A gold bracelet. Not hers. It smelled of perfume, sweet, expensive, unfamiliar. The same scent Daniel carried when he returned from late meetings. Leah gripped the bracelet, her hands trembling. She didn't need an explanation. She knew. The phone calls, the secrecy, the change in his behavior. Everything pointed to what she feared since last year. She closed her hand around the bracelet and whispered, "You left this behind on purpose." Before she could think, her phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. A message from Ava, her investor mentor. "Your silence ends soon. I'll meet you before the gala." Leah's heartbeat quickened. Just then, Daniel appeared in the doorway. "What's that?" he asked, staring at her clenched fist. Leah raised her eyes slowly. "Something," she whispered, "that won't stay hidden much longer." Daniel frowned, confused. Leah turned away. Inside her pocket, the bracelet felt like truth, and truth was something Daniel wasn't ready for. She expected insults that day, but she didn't expect a broken old man standing at her door. The doorbell rang loudly. Leah froze. Daniel muttered, annoyed, "Who now?" Leah opened the door and gasped. "Mr. Louis Carter." Daniel's father stood there, looking tired, thinner, older. His hands shook. "Dad?" Daniel said, confused. "Why are you here?" Louis forced a weak smile. Didn't want to disturb later. Leah guided him inside gently. Of all Daniel's family, Louis was the only kind one. He had helped her set up her first boutique. He had believed in her dream. As he sat, Leah noticed something was wrong. He whispered, "I lost my job. After 28 years, they said I'm too old." Leah's heart cracked. Louis had always worked hard, never complained. Meanwhile, Daniel didn't even look up. He was texting, smiling at his phone. Louis lowered his voice. "Please, don't tell Daniel. Last time he called me useless. I can't hear that again." Leah swallowed her anger. "Would you take simple work?" she asked softly. He nodded. "Anything honest." Leah smiled gently. "I know a company hiring." She didn't tell him he would soon work for her. He thought she was preparing for the party. She was preparing for war. As night approached, the house buzzed with activity for their anniversary gala. Daniel strutted around giving orders. His family criticized everything Leah did, but she moved quietly, calmly, because her mind was somewhere else. She met Ava Turner, her mentor, in a small cafe an hour before the event. The older woman slid a folder across the table. "Everything is ready. As of tonight, you legally own Catatex Manufacturing, the company where Daniel worked, the company where his lover worked, the company where Louis would soon be hired." Leah opened the folder slowly, her hands shaking. She whispered, "It's real?" Ava smiled. "Yes, you rebuilt your dream. You just didn't tell them." Leah exhaled a breath she had held for 2 long years. "That gala will not end the way he expects," Ava said, squeezing her hand. Leah nodded. She wasn't just going to walk into the gala as Daniel's mocked wife. She would enter as the hidden owner of the company that fed his pride. And she had one final surprise he would never forget. When she walked into the hall, people whispered. When Daniel took the stage, they gasped. The hall was filled with glittering lights, flowing gowns, and soft music. Leah walked in gracefully, wearing a royal purple dress that made heads turn. Daniel grinned proudly, not knowing the storm coming for him. As the event continued, Daniel took the microphone to give a speech. Leah felt her stomach twist. She knew his speeches often turned into weapons. And she was right. He laughed into the microphone. "My wife tries so hard. Bless her, but not everyone is meant to succeed." People shifted uncomfortably. His sisters giggled. Mrs. Carter looked smug. Daniel continued. "She wastes time on silly designs. I tell her to stop, but she never listens. Some people are just born to fail." A heavy silence fell. Leah felt something inside her crack, then harden. Daniel stepped off the stage, stood before her, and spat on her shoes. The crowd gasped. Leah didn't blink. Daniel waited for tears. She gave him none. Behind him, Ava entered the hall quietly. It was time. He expected her to break. Instead, she opened the folder and broke him. Leah rose slowly from her chair. The entire hall watched. Daniel smirked. No comeback? Thought so. Leah reached into her clutch and pulled out a folder. Ava stepped beside her, standing tall. Daniel frowned. What's that? Divorce papers? Please. No, Leah said calmly. Ownership papers. Whispers spread across the hall. Leah handed the documents to the event host, who read aloud. This certifies that Leah Monroe Carter is now the majority owner and CEO of Carter Tex Manufacturing. Daniel's face drained of color. That's my company, he shouted. Leah shook her head. It was, until it was sold and bought. People gasped. Daniel laughed nervously. You? You can't even run a day. Daniel, Ava interrupted. Your wife rebuilt everything you mocked, and now you work for her. Daniel staggered back. Leah continued softly. And tomorrow, your father starts his new job as company gateman, with dignity, with respect, something you never gave him. Louis covered his mouth, tears filling his eyes. Daniel had no words. Leah finally spoke the truth she had swallowed for years. I'm not your failure. I'm your lesson. The people who once laughed at her now wanted to stand behind her. The hall erupted into whispers. Some guests clapped quietly. Others stared at Daniel with disgust. His sister's smug faces melted into shock. Mrs. Carter stood angrily. You tricked us! You embarrassed my son! Leah turned to her calmly. He embarrassed me for years. This is just the truth catching up. Daniel tried to grab the folder, but Ava blocked him. Leah continued. This company will rise with integrity. Anyone who mocks others is free to leave. People started applauding slow at first, then louder. Louis walked toward Leah, eyes full of gratitude. He held her hands and whispered, Thank you for seeing me when my son didn't. Leah hugged him gently. You deserve respect. Daniel, face red, shouted, You think you won? You're nothing without me. Leah shook her head. I was nothing with you. There's a difference. The hall fell silent at her words. Daniel clenched his jaw. His power was gone. His pride shattered. And Leah, calm, steady, strong, finally felt free. The world thought she would walk away quietly. Instead, she walked into her future with her head high. After the chaos, the music faded. Guests approached Leah with apologies, admiration, and relief. Ava stood proudly beside her. Louis wiped silent tears. Daniel tried to speak, but Leah raised a hand. I don't hate you, she said, but you will never break me again. She handed him an envelope. Inside, separation papers, his job reassignment, proof of his mistress's messages. Daniel fell silent. Leah turned away, stepping onto the stage. She lifted the microphone he used to humiliate her. In a steady voice, she said, I am Leah Monroe, and I choose myself today. The hall erupted in applause, loud, warm, real. She walked out of the ballroom not as Daniel's silent wife, but as a woman who rebuilt her own destiny. A woman nobody would ever underestimate again.